Now, if you recently bought Appletiser products, you should return them to the retailer. The National Consumer Commission says the items will be exchanged or replaced. The products were recalled after some batches were found to have higher than acceptable toxin levels. For more on this, we're joined now by the Commission's Thezi Mabuza. Thezi, many thanks for your time this morning. This is a big concern that the lack of oversight on consumables is allowed to be distributed nationwide.
Good morning and good morning to your viewers. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I do not think that really this is a lack of oversight. In a production line, whenever quality is being checked, those are some of the processes that normally happens when we do quality checks, because it is the responsibility of every manufacturer to ensure that in their production line, quality is maintained throughout. We do have regulators on the ground in terms of the Department of Health, and then if it's a compulsory specifications, we do have the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications going into the production line and checking if really there is compliance throughout. But then if that is picked up, if maybe maybe there is either poor product, or maybe there is something that happens in the process that becomes overlooked while it's in the production site, then it lands in the hands of the consumer. Then again, you would see that that is being followed up, and then it's where in a recall happens. So it's actually part of regulation.
Right. So when they call for a recall, what exactly is the process that a consumer should follow? Now that they've got the product at their home, they take it back to the store. What happens in that particular process?
Because that product is already in our hands, in our pantries, the recall is to call consumers to action. All that we need consumers to do is go into your pantry. If you have Appletiser, check at the batch that you have, because here we are talking of specific 6 batches that we are talking about. We are talking of the 1.25 plastic bottle of Appletiser with a best before date of the 7th of November. Of 7th of November 2021, and then we'll be talking of the 750 mils with the best before date of 30 May 2022, and then the 275 mils, which is a glass bottle, with the best before date of the 10th of June 2022, and then we have the 3 slender bottles. All of them, their best before date is the 18th of May, the 19th of May, and the 23rd of May, 2022. So if you pick up those bottles or those batches in your pantry, all that you have to do, forget about your receipt or where you bought it, go to the nearest retailer that sells Appletiser, just hand over that commodity back to them, and all they have to do is either give you a refund, or they will either exchange that bottle for you, or that drink for you.
Now, that is the role that the consumer has to play in terms of ensuring that they are not suffering from the effects. And the toxin, you've actually indicated in your release, it may cause vomiting and nausea and other problems, gastric problems. So the role of the National Consumer Commission here, when it comes to dealing with companies like Coca-Cola, who may have erred in terms of the production line and missing some of those toxins that would have landed up into the product, is there any kind of action that's taken against companies, or what happens in this instance?
What we do as a regulator is to make sure that they follow the same process that they are expected to follow when things go wrong. And then our responsibility in this case is to make the company actually do the recall properly, as per our guideline, and as also what they would have promised in this case. They will come back and report to us to say all the 37,000 cases that actually have been affected have been recalled, and then to ensure that consumers have the redress. But then if something happens again of a similar nature, because they'll have to give us an undertaking to say that what is it that they will do in future to make sure that similar mishaps don't happen again. And then so that consumers can be assured that the products that are in their hands are normally safe. We know that it will happen, but then we tell ourselves that something went wrong, and what is it? They have to now establish what is it that went wrong and make sure that there's corrections, and then that they have mitigating steps that it doesn't happen again and in such bigger scales as well. And if that doesn't happen, it's wherein now we come in as a regulator to say that then there will be some administrative fines, but in cases wherein consumers have suffered harm and there is a causal effect between what the consumer is suffering and the consumption of that product, then the supplier is also liable to make good in terms of paying the medical costs and also now paying compensation to the consumers. But we haven't reached that in South Africa, so we are trying to make sure that at least we make good wherein we see that it's wrong in terms of the redress.
Yeah, protecting the consumer at all costs. Ms. Thezi Mabuza, who's the Acting Commissioner for the National Consumer Commission, many thanks for your time this morning and giving us clarity on that Appletiser recall.